Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another One Piece chapter review and discussion. Today we will be talking about chapter 1084. First of all, before we actually get into this chapter, though, I would like to talk about the beautiful color spread that Oda has made, which includes most, I would say, of the relevant female characters in One Piece. I see Rebecca, Vivi, obviously the Straw Hat girls, I think all the relevant female characters. It's very nice. I don't exactly know where they're going. To be honest, they look like they're falling down a waterfall, but I'm not going to look into it. They're just getting up to all sorts of crazy shenanigans. But yeah, let's move on to the actual chapter. Now, this chapter goes very hard. Oda basically is just going, yeah, you thought that was peak? I'll show you peak for every chapter now, because every chapter is basically, well, just, getting everything ready for the final arc, because we've reached the end now, and all Oda needs to do is bring everything together. So we start this chapter with a continuation of the flashback from the previous chapter of Sabo meeting with Jewelry Bonnie. Obviously, they're both after the same thing, so they're going to work together. Now, this chapter has one of the most satisfying moments since Luffy punched Saint Duke Charlos, or whatever he's called, directly in the cheek and sent him flying through multiple sets of chairs. This chapter surpasses that. And when I say that, I mean that, because it goes hard. And would you believe it involves Saint Charlos again? Chef's kiss. Thank you, Oda. You've done a great service. But no, we start off the chapter with Sabo and Jewelry Bonnie wandering through Pangaea Castle, looking for Kuma, and the fact that Sabo's already got the keys for all of the slaves' collars, and he basically just needs to get it to them. We see a little interaction with a couple of the guards at Marijois, talking about some sort of lost chamber and how guards keep going missing or something. So I don't know what the lost chamber is. Maybe they're referring to the place where we saw the giant straw hat. I no clue really. I don't know. However, it is nice to see that, again, these guards are just normal people. They're normal people, and they are scared, alright? They are scared that any day they could be guarding some celestial dragon, and then all of a sudden the celestial dragon's just like, you know what, you, shoot yourself in the head. And then if they don't, somebody else will shoot them in the head. They must live pretty terrifying lives. Like, these guys probably never asked for this. These guards probably wanted to be, I don't know, bakers when they grew up. But no, they ended up having to serve the worst people imaginable. Like, that's not fair. These guys got it the worst, Like, they haven't got it as bad as some characters in the One Piece universe, mostly slaves of the Celestial Dragons. But, like, these guys aren't far off. They live every day in fear. But, then we cut back to where we ended off the last chapter. So King Cobra in the last chapter talked about how he would be having an audience with the 5 Elder Stars. And in this chapter, we see that. We see his audience with them, and we see him asking about, something to do with the first 20 kings that made the world government 800 years ago in the Void Century, asking specifically about the king of their country, queen at the time, Lily, and I was gonna try and pronounce his last name, but I'm not going to, because I fear that it won't go well. So I'm just not gonna say. You know what? I'll try Nefertari. I like, because honestly, Vivi Nefertari, but it's like, is it the same? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It doesn't matter. We're gonna move on. So King Cobra pointed out the fact that on the Pangaea throne, there are 20 swords, and the fact that that is to show that all the kings have come together and said no one will take the throne and we will all be equal. That way no one of us could become a dictator. However, he pointed out that out of all of those swords, one was missing. It would explain why there's only 19 swords there, And, that person just so happened to be Lily. Her sword wasn't up there. And she was the only person out of the 20 kings who decided not to become a celestial dragon and live up in Mariswa with their family. So it would explain does explain why hers isn't there. And he does question them about that. And they basically say, well, I don't know. I don't know why it's not up there. We don't know. They probably do. But they're not going to tell him, are they? But he asks a little other question. If you can't know about that, can I know about the meaning of D? And that is a very important question. Obviously, if you're not a One Piece fan, it probably just sounds like he's asking for someone else. But, if you're a One Piece fan, this is obviously a very important thing. He's just asked about one of the biggest questions in all of One Piece. And will they answer him? Probably not. If they know what it means, maybe they don't. I guess they would, but maybe they don't. Who knows? But we're just gonna keep moving, and we see it. So Saint Charles has attempted his kidnapping of Princess Shirahoshi again, and everyone's just like, "What do we do?" And then they're like, "Nothing. I guess we'll just leave." So they all run away. Shirahoshi's brothers try to save her, but their efforts don't go well, because instead of just some random giant slave trying to kidnap her now, it's Kuma, who is much more powerful, and, if they went up against Kuma, they would not win. So, it explains why they didn't do very well. But, Myozinga is there to save the day again. I still don't know if I'm saying his name right, but Myozinga, one of the other celestial dragons, the only likable one. He saved Princess Shirahoshi last time to repay his debt, and he's gonna do it again. But this time, oh, it's all come good. He stops Shirahoshi's brothers, saying that, you can't do this. They're a bit angry. They say, double standards, you hit him earlier, why can't we? And understandable. But don't worry, Myozinga's got a plan. He'll let someone hit Charlos. It's just not going to be them. And who hits Charlos? The little Tontata fella, Leo or something, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, from the Dressrosa arc. And, that other guy who's got Baby 5 simping for him. I remember her name being Baby 5. I can't... Honestly, Dressrosa is a fever dream, so I don't remember most of their names. But, you know what? I gotta give respect to these guys, so I will get their names eventually. Maybe I'll pop them up on screen now if I have enough time to edit for this video. But, they do the best thing, the most satisfying thing. They don't just punch St. Charlos. They take him out the story for the rest of time. St. Charlos has officially been killed. One Piece fans, rejoice! Not to mention, bro be looking like Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty if he got sat on. He is completely crushed. His head be looking like a frying pan. The amount it is folded into itself. They absolutely destroyed Charlos. And you know what? I couldn't be more happy. I'm so happy that St. Charlos will never appear again in the entire story. After what he did, oh, yeah, all of the things he's done in this story have been the most utterly, disgustingly vile things. Oda, a few hundred chapters ago, hinted to Doflamingo doing a terrible, terrible thing. And like, he only slightly hinted to it. In this chapter, he just goes all the way. St. Charles, like, we always had an idea of how the slaves were treated by the celestial dragons, but in this chapter, St. Charles basically just reaffirmed that. He was just like, yeah, if you try to disobey me, I'm gonna do unimaginable things. And I was like, oh my god, he has to die. He has to die, right? And lo and behold, he does. Oh, it's so good. It's finally come good. But it's been a matter of time. We all knew it was going to come eventually. And Saint Charles is out. Karasu has the key. Morley's just grabbed Kuma. So I don't know whether I don't know how they get him out. Probably tunneling underground with Morley's devil fruit, but don't know. It doesn't really matter anyways. He'll only come back. But then we get probably the most mysterious part of the chapter. Right at the end, we see Cobra. He's still sitting there. However, he's quite shocked, and reasonably so. The five Elder Stars plead with Emu as King Cobra is still sitting in front of him. And Emu walks up the stairs and he takes a seat on the Pangea throne, which is supposed to be empty. Nobody has ever seen him sit there before. No one has ever seen anyone sit on the Pangea throne. It is probably illegal. And the fact that this random guy, that King Cobra has no clue who he even is just sat on the throne of the world, basically. I can imagine him being pretty shocked, and he is. The only word that Emu even utters is just Lily. So, next chapter, will we continue with this? Probably not. We'll probably just go back to Egghead Island and pretend none of this ever happened, but yeah, that is the end of this chapter. This chapter has been a wild one with possibly the most satisfying moment in One Piece history. Finally, he's done. He's gone, never to come back again. St. Charles, all the crimes he's committed. Oda finally did us a service and took him out. Thank you, Oda. Thank you. But yeah, that is the end. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure to smash that like button. And see you next time. Goodbye.